The gentleman from New York, Mr. Bowman.
Go. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Good to see you here. Thank you for joining us today. I'm especially interested in how your department is supporting workers across the country in their efforts to engage in collective bargaining and unionization, especially given recent reporting about companies like Amazon spending millions on anti-union efforts. In January, your department put out a blog post about the work of the Office of Labor Management Standards and noted that OLMS planned to relaunch a program highlighting the benefits of collective bargaining and cooperative union and employer bargaining relationships. So number one, can you provide an update on this effort and discuss why such a program is so important right now, especially in light of continued reporting on union busting by large employers like Amazon? And two, what are some of the challenges this program faces and what additional resources Congress can provide to support this vital work? And I got two other questions I'm going to try and get to, so try to be concise.
I'll be really fast. First and foremost, you know, the president, myself, support collective bargaining. We support workers' right to organize. There's been no secret about that. I've said that a couple times here today, and I think that, you know, the president filed the PRO Act that passed the House, that's over in the Senate now, and the president's encouraging the Senate to pass the PRO Act. But certainly OLMS we talked a little bit about reporting today, reporting kind of anti-union investments that companies have made. They have a legal obligation to do that. We don't have a lot of enforcement when it comes to making sure that those get filed. So kind of in a nutshell, I mean, I certainly support collective bargaining. I was at the AFL-CIO convention yesterday. I spoke there. I talked about the one thing. I'll be honest with you. I said to the unions, it's that it's not the responsibility of the president or the federal government to organize. It's their responsibility to organize, and they need to go out and organize. And it's our responsibility, I guess, in some cases, Congress to pass laws that might help unions. But right now, we don't have that.
Thank you. Nationwide, unemployment in the Black community remains over 6%, the highest of any racial group in the country. In New York, unemployment in the Black community was over 9% for the first quarter of 2022. We have to do better, as you know, to support Black workers in their ability to unionize and bargain collectively to get and keep high-quality, good-paying jobs. What is your department doing to support unionized employment specifically for Black Americans, especially in the context of high rates of unemployment?
Well, certainly one of the things is in the Good Jobs Initiative, we're very focused on making sure we're creating a pathway into not just the innovation, I mean, the bipartisan infrastructure law, but all of the policies and some of the work that we're doing in the federal government as far as investments. Secondly, we're working across the line in places like Job Corps and other job training and our American Job Centers, making sure people have pathways into good-paying jobs. We have to be intentional about the way that we invest in workforce development programs, partnering with local authorities and creating the pathways. You know, it's no surprise, it shouldn't be a surprise to any of us that the unemployment rate for the Black community is twice that of white, because historically has been. But the president has been very clear that he wants this moment in time, coming out of a pandemic, the investments that are being made, that we do it differently. And he's directed all of us to make sure this happens. And it starts with us, and it goes right down. We have to work with the private sector. We have to work with the local governments to make sure that this time is different.
Can you speak to any collaboration that's done either at the federal level or local level that you know of between the Department of Labor and law enforcement? The reason why I'm asking is because we've been doing a lot of re-entry work in our district. And what we're seeing is there's just such a lack of opportunity for people who are returning citizens, but also for youth who are returning citizens. And they may have not been incarcerated for long periods of time, maybe a day or so, but there's just a lack of resources in terms of their workforce development. Can you speak to some of the collaborations there and some of the investments that are being made there so that youth do not escalate to violence in certain circumstances?
Yeah, there is some collaboration, but I think there should be more collaboration. When I was in Boston, the mayor of Boston, my program that we talked about, Operation Exit, I worked very closely with the Boston Police Department, with the courts, and we put a lot of young people into a pathway, into pre-apprenticeship programs before they get in trouble. And I think that oftentimes if we wait till after an arrest happens or incarceration happens, it's almost too late for that person because they have to do their time. When they get out, we have to try and catch them again. I think what we want to do is get on the forefront where somebody just gets into that beginning time of trouble, and how do we maybe work with probation and clerks in courts, so rather than put them in prison, we put them on a pathway to a job and give them that chance. Like you hear the stories of the old days that the judge would say, you go to service or you go to jail. Well, now the judge could say, you go into an apprentice program or you go to jail. Give them that chance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.